All right. Good morning, Zach. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, and we have not won the Super Bowl yet, but my goodness, it feels
No.
like we might have, right?
Yeah, wow, I'm not gonna lie, I did not see that coming. Even in my most optimistic, ways, I really did not think the Ravens were gonna have that good of a performance on Christmas.
It was amazing. There's so much. We're going to get into it in a
Yeah.
second, but the bowl games are on my mind,
Mhm.
and there's a couple things. I just got to get this off because I hate complaining without a solution. And I really don't know if I have a solution for this, but this is just unbelievable. So everybody needs clicks for the media. Totally get it.
Mhm.
The more controversial the headline, fine.
Oh, yeah.
You're in that business, great. We want
Yeah.
people, but when you're completely misleading, and then the story, because most people don't read the story, they see the headline.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Bro Bible, you ever heard of them? Bro Bible.
Oh, mm. Oh, yeah.
All right, so the headline, which makes me read the article, which I'm glad I did because I honestly didn't know this. Minnesota quarterback abandons his fiance during wedding planning to make first start in last game of fifth season. So just there's a lot there, right?
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack, like, a lot's going on.
But abandoning fiance during
Yeah.
wedding planning is kind of enough for me to just get it going, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to I gotta read you part of this. I just want to get
Mhm.
your reaction, then I'll make my point after. Okay.
Alright.
This is what it says. According to his LinkedIn, so the guy's name is, let's make sure we get it right, Cole Kramer. He's the quarterback.
Alright.
He's a fifth year senior. He's never started before. So that's what I'm getting from the headline. And he abandoned his
Alright.
wife. And his wife is really hot. So yeah, that's part of the reason I clicked on it. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
according to his LinkedIn, Kramer is, quote, currently looking for a sales marketing job for January of 2024. Okay. So he's
Yeah.
ready to work, ready to get out.
Yeah, he's getting in the force. He knows NFL's not happening.
That's definitely not happening. And it also says he's getting ready. He's set to marry Katie Miller in 40 days. So a lot going on. Got to get paid.
Yeah.
And now it gets crazy. Kramer's a fifth year senior. He was a 3-star prospect in 2019. His
All right.
career, this is too much. His career as a backup for the Golden Gophers was highlighted by being an all academic Big Ten for 4 of his 5 years. So smart
All
guy.
right. Yeah. Okay. Going into sales. Good. Good. Good for him.
It says the bulk of his college experience came as a short yardage specialist out of the Wildcat in the year 2021.
Uh,
Okay.
all
He's
right.
only attempted 14 passes in 5 years.
Not great for quarterbacks. Not great.
Now it gets even a little stranger. So, starting quarterback Ethan Kalakaminas entered the
Mhm.
transfer portal. I'm sorry, the Minnesota finished 5-7, so they're not
Yeah.
bowl
So.
eligible. Transfer the starting quarterback goes to the transfer portal. Season's over.
Mhm.
However, now things get weird. Um, and here we go. Not enough college football teams reach the requirement of being 6-6. So even though there's 8
Yeah.
million bowl games, the only effing rule is you have to be 6-6.
And
So
somehow they don't get. Every year, I feel like we're on the brink of. Okay, there is a way in which like some 5-win teams get a bowl game, and it's like I feel like we should just not have those bowl games. If we're
well,
being honest.
so remember what I told you. Minnesota's 5-7, but you have
Yeah.
to be 6-6. So how the hell did they make the bowl game? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because not enough college football teams were even 6-6, they had to go what the tiebreaker is. You know what the tiebreaker. So all 5-win teams are now eligible for a bowl game, and the tiebreaker is who has the best quote academic progress rate. So there you go. Minnesota Golden Gophers, they win. Smart people up there, led by
Good
the backup
job.
quarterback who's made all honors. So anyway, they get invited to the Quick Lane Bowl. Well, says Coach PJ Fleck. Let's see, here we go. Brought Mr. Kramer into his office and asked him if he would like to start the bowl game. So he gets a phone call.
Yeah.
Would you like to start? And then this is the part where back to the initial headline. So the initial headline says abandoning wedding fiance, right?
Yeah.
So here's the actual story. Kramer was hesitant and he wanted to check with his fiance, who thought there was an emergency because her fiance rang while she's in the middle of her shift as a nurse. She encouraged him to play and gave him his blessing. So I don't think he really abandoned her.
Yeah, that's just God.
He was, but headline worked. I clicked on it. She's hot, like I said. So now I'm like, Jeremy bets on all these games. I forgot. Did they even win the game? Ready for this? Kramer goes 8 for 16 for 26 yards, 3 carries for 31 yards, but 3 total touchdowns, and Minnesota wins the game.
Okay, what a day. How do you get 3 total touchdowns with that stat line?
There's so many things to unpack, and I'm gonna let you talk in a second. And if you want, and we don't have to do too
Yeah.
much time on this, but I wanted to make the point of, so my politics and my way of viewing the world is like anarchist. Like I'm like
Mhm.
less regulation, less government usually is my go-to way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
And I find myself like screaming for like regulation. I'm like nonstop
Yeah.
of what the hell's happened to me, but I'm like somebody's got to be in charge because these are, there's nobody at the games except friends and family.
Yeah.
People don't want to play. Jeremy's trying to pick the games. I get 50 emails right before the game starts because all the lines are different. Hey, does Jeremy still like it? It's like, I guess I got to call him and ask him because the line's 4 points different. I don't know if he still
Yeah.
likes it.
It's
There's
like
so,
no one the books aren't really focused on this pre Christmas bowl game that
so then
75
some,
people are at.
you're right. So then there's massive money will come in one way or the other. And not anyway. So I just, what the hell are we doing with these bowl games? As somebody that loves
Yeah.
sports, give me your just 2 cents
It's
on it all.
it's funny. It's like, with college basketball with like the tournament, it's like, oh, it's so electric how many games are going on and all that. College football, there are too many games. I mean, at some point, just and it's not even that at one point there were too many games because it's kind of the same. I mean, we've gained, I guess, some we've gained some bowl games, but for the most part, there was always a lot of bowl games. But now it's players are leaving for the transfer portal.
Right.
Players are declaring early, and no one's playing in the bowl game. So even, the other day I turned flipping through channels. I'm like, oh, Louisville versus USC. This will be a great matchup. Two good teams this year playing each other. I don't think I knew a single player that I'd watched all year. No chance Caleb Williams was playing. Like they're all just trying out their backups. It's like these aren't the teams I watched all year. This is like watching a spring training game, a training camp game. Like it's
Something's got
just,
to change.
yeah, it's just, I don't know what happens with the transfer. Like obviously the transfer portal's impacting that. Like you said, I mean, the guy thought season's over. I'm going to the transfer
The
portal. And
most
then,
amazing story, right?
yeah, like it's just
Oh, I
what
forgot
a,
to read because I felt like I was just reading the whole thing. But like apparently the coolest part of the whole thing was he got a standing ovation from the team when it
uh,
was announced. So like there's these interesting stories. There's always like a good story or two. And I'm just wired. Someone told me when I was a kid, it's easy to find the bad in somebody. Anybody can do that,
yeah.
but finding the good in somebody is hard to do. And so with
Mhm.
these bowl games, I'm like, there's got to be good somewhere. Like there's
Yeah.
got to be.
Yeah, yeah, it has to be. And I guess there it is. It's there it gives opportunities to guys and like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just difficult because, and the last point on it, and I think my overall take on where we're going with the transfer portal and just the state of college football is the people that are
Mhm.
getting hurt the most are high school athletes because
Yeah.
now I have to win, right? If I'm the college football coach, I literally have to win. Like I don't
Yeah.
get 1 year to rebuild. So if I'm gonna try to win the next year, do I want a junior or senior backup from Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia, or do I want to recruit and try to build it out? And the
Yeah.
answer is obvious, right? I'm
Mhm.
gonna use my assistant coaches to go manipulate the backup players on the top 5 programs.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's really what the game is instead of recruiting high school athletes. And it screws everything up, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 1 year to prove that you're a good college coach, are you gonna go out and want to get the left tackle that is, been under Saban for the past 2 years, or do you want the 17-year-old coming in from high school? They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, my job's on the line. Like you said, I gotta go get the best
Wait,
players.
wait till we hear the stories in the next few years of because all this money is given up front. You hear like Antoine Walker. I hate to bring up somebody
Yeah.
specific, but he's the one that jumps out where he lost all of his money from bad
Yeah.
investments. I think
Mhm.
ESPN did 30 for 30. that's what's going to happen to these kids because they're going to get the bag
Mhm.
and they have, generally speaking, don't know what to do with it. Um, it's just a nightmare. Anyway,
I
let's
also
talk.
well, another thing is I think a lot of them think the bag's gonna continue, and it's a weird reality for a lot of them that you probably will not make it to the NFL and continue to make this type of money, so they continue it as, "Oh, this is my first of many bags," and it's like they spend it, and then it's like, "Oh, no, that was it, like, that's what you got, like, you're not going to the NFL, like, that was 750,000 that you got for 2 years to
And
like,
you don't
that was
see it
it."
all, right? You
Yeah.
spend it and not knowing that it has to be taxed, all that stuff. So
Mhm.
anyway, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Maybe after the Ravens win the Super Bowl, we got some more dead tax
Yeah.
bill. But it was just crazy to me that that jumped out. So let's go. I always like instead of recapping because we talk on Friday, and I feel like you've
Yeah.
already recapped it 50 times. We've already heard the recap, so I
Mhm.
like to spring forward. But there is one because I always like to do the snap count.
Yeah.
Just a thing. Anyway, so Stanley played 85% of the
Mhm.
snaps. I think part of that was he was playing great. I think the other part is what we talked about last week, where you're like, hey, if we're, why don't we just rest them for the next few weeks? And I think they took the opposite approach, which is like, we'll be
Yeah.
okay without him. Let's see if he can actually handle it in the toughest spot. He graded out really well. I wanted,
Mhm.
so therefore, I wanted to focus on, I always like to find if there's a hole or something we can work on. What's your thought process on the way they're using Gus? Because he got 43% of the snaps. Justice Hill got 62%. Is it something where they're waiting to use him for, the playoffs and we just keep resting them? Or what did you think about that?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm very confused, like, I don't understand. I feel like they're not necessarily not establishing the run, but it does feel like they aren't giving the ball to Gus in situations that I think they usually would, and part of me thinks that they kind of are going with the mentality of he's such a big bruising back of letting him get a few carries first 3 quarters, Justice Hill getting in there, Lamar going after you. And then when you're tired, you get a more well rested Gus, to pound you down and kind of end it that way.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of spots, especially throughout the past few weeks, where this past week, I thought it was going to be a Gus Edwards show. I thought it was going to be a big, we talked about it. It was going to be, keep the ball away from the 49ers offense, run the ball, grind out these long drives. And that just wasn't necessarily the case. They weren't feeding the ball to Gus like I thought they would. And they haven't been the past few games.
And
So,
Aguilar got the same amount of snaps as Beckham, which
mhm,
I think has been the one thing I was worried about. And I guess there's certain players, and Beckham is checking that box of really winning is the only thing that matters. Because there's certain
yeah,
guys that want the ball, and then you're like, do they want the ball when we're also winning? And that was my complaint about, Diggs. It feels like sometimes it
yeah,
borders on selfish. But Beckham's not getting a ton of targets.
mhm,
It feels like it's been obvious, especially the way that game started. Like we're going to Flowers. We need third down. That's where the ball's going. So yeah,
yeah,
excuse me, Bateman. Bateman had. Oh, you know what? I misspoke. They all three had literally the same amount of sets. I thought Bateman was below them. Bateman, Beckham, and Aguilar had 54% of the snaps, and Flowers
uh,
had 78%. And that's
yeah,
just, um, I think it's a great sign. It's almost like
yeah,
if you don't know, and I mean this respectfully, but it's like if Zach doesn't know exactly what the game plan is, and it's like, man, I
mhm.
thought Gus would get the ball a lot more. Um, and you're following it all the time, it does make it seem like, man, without Mark Andrews, it's turned into a blessing because it's like, where are the Ravens going to go on offense?
Yeah, you really don't know
Really
right
don't know,
now.
right?
I mean, hell, Isaiah Likely is just going out there and having a great performance the past 3 games, really stepping up. And it is a lot to do with that, like you just said, who's going to get the ball right now? I mean, unfortunately, even Keaton Mitchell, going out, that was a guy that when he was in, you were like, okay, they really want to feed him right now. And right now, it is a very different offense because even as someone who watches this team religiously throughout the week, every Sunday, there are times where we go up there to the line and I'm like, I do not know what we're doing right here. And it's a weird position for me to be in, especially, after the past few years with Greg Roman. I feel like I could sit there and be like, I'd sit at the TV and be like, okay, Pat Ricard come in motion, stop, bring it back. And then, we'd run this. And it's like, okay, we kind of have a motion, it works. We got, we established
We're not
run.
even using any trick play. Like it feels like we still
Yeah.
have a lot of things we could go to. I know you're waiting for the Malik, what's it, Malik Cunningham
Malik Cunningham. Yeah, I
pop
want
in
that
there for the
so
double
badly.
reverse pass or something.
Oh yeah, that's my big thing. I'm waiting for him. I think if we win this week, weirdly, I think he starts against Pittsburgh. That's
So
like my bold pick. I think they want to see what they have in him. I think they would give him the start.
all right, so let's do the good, which I think is obvious because we had 25 interceptions.
Yeah.
Feels like sometimes we have 15 players on the field, so that's great.
Yeah.
However, let's be honest, there's two things that
Mhm.
worry me. The first is we're not doing a great job early in the game of stopping the run again.
Yeah.
But the first thing I want to talk about, and the thing that worries me the most, is it's a different ball game unless Hamilton just makes a play on
Yeah.
that first interception. Like they showed the replay. I don't know how many people saw it, but
Mhm.
Purdy's late. Kittle didn't run as more to the corners he should
Yeah.
have. Hamilton makes a play. However, the middle of the field is like wide open.
Yeah. If Purdy times that up, Debo walks in.
Yeah, and so Kittle was wide open.
Mhm.
Um, there are some weaknesses in the middle of the field. There's some different things that we have to address, but everybody has that. So what seems like,
Yeah.
and this is what I wanted to set you up with, what it feels like is the defensive philosophy is we know that we don't necessarily have to blitz. We can get
Mhm.
home without it, but our best players in the middle, Queen and Roquan, for everything that they're great at, them in coverage is not exactly where the Ravens want to be. And
No.
I think teams are so almost like, do you think that? I guess what I want to ask you is, did the defense dominate or were they opportunistic? Because to me, I came away from that game thinking, all right, they made a few great plays, getting their hands on the ball, like
Yeah.
flashing, but it didn't, it felt like, I don't know. I'm like cautiously,
Yeah.
just a little anxious here about the Dolphins game.
Yeah, I think it was a little of both. I think they had a great game, and against a team like the 49ers with that many weapons, they're going to move the ball against you. And, what sucks about playing against them, and it was so annoying. I felt like we were covering everyone except for Kittle at one point, and I was like, I can't even be upset because right now we're blanketing Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. And I was like, I can't be mad that we're leaving open the fourth best player. And I was like, so it was, frustrating in that sense where it felt like Kittle did become open up the middle. It was like that those first few drives, it was like we were just handing it to him.
It feels like,
And
go ahead.
yeah, I was just, and it's one of those things where, yeah, though that gave me a little bit of, worry. I was like, it didn't feel good. It felt like, okay, is this going to be a long game of just watching Kittle dominate? But I think, you hit the nail on the head. It was opportunistic, when they saw the opportunity, they took advantage of it, which, you gotta give it credit for because a lot of times, over the past few years, we've seen them be opportunistic and it doesn't go our way, and then we have a loss. So
To me, the biggest advantage that we have on defense has been the emergence outside of Hamilton because I think that was unexpected. Brandon Stevens, I like him even more than Humphrey was great last week, but I
yeah,
really like Brandon Stevens, and
yeah,
I think the strategy has to be moving forward to use the safeties to help more in the like. I almost feel like if we're gonna get beat, I'd rather get beat Humphrey or Stevens.
hmm
And I don't want that middle of the field. It makes it there's only so many quarterbacks that can throw it outside the numbers.
yeah.
And this Miami team, this is gonna be so exciting. So break it down for us. How are the Dolphins? I think I just kind of gave it a little bit, right? They want to hit the middle of the
Yeah.
field. Tua got rid of the ball against the Cowboys in like under 2.2 seconds, something
Yeah.
ridiculous. The ball's just coming
Yeah.
out. That's obviously the game plan. Is there something else though that You watch so much. Give me something that maybe people aren't talking about that we should look for.
Well, I think the big thing right now is it looks like Jalen Waddle isn't going to be playing, which is a big help for the Ravens defense.
Mhm.
But man, I mean, McDaniel is part of the Shanahan tree, so it's going to be a lot of similarities in the pre-snap motions and the different formations offensively that we're going to see from McDaniel. And I think it all, as much as Raheem Mostert, even though he's a little banged up right now, he's got over 20 touchdowns. A-Chain's a dominant, explosive rookie running back. And they love to run the football, but that team lives and dies with Tyreek Hill. They are going to put him in motion. I think it's like 90% of plays, some crazy stat that he's in motion for. They want to get him mismatched and they want to get him the ball across the middle of the field in open space and let him take over. And I mean, I talked about this last night. I would be fine if the entire game we played 8-on-10 and three guys just covered Tyreek because it's like, do not get, especially with Waddle out, do not get beat by Tyreek Hill. I think that's just got to be your game plan.
So the Ravens can be the 1 seed. The Ravens can be the 2 seed. I don't think they
Or
can.
the 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say right. They can get to the 5. There's this game will be. I actually think that they can spin this to a positive either way.
Mhm.
I think the bye would be helpful, but there's just something about it being so similar to 2019. So I think the way that they played last week is such a great reference point for whatever
Yeah.
happens this week. Not trying to be negative about it, but I do think that Miami's in the perfect nothing to lose spot either. Miami's
Oh, yeah.
because the expectations are low. I think they play loose. I think you're going to
Mhm.
see the long ball. What I was reading about the Ravens this year that is, and this is what I wanted to finish on because it goes back to Harbaugh. Harbaugh, I wanted to compare it to like a CEO of a
Mhm.
corporation. When you're investing in a corporation, one of the things you want to look for is like who the hell's running this place and what are their
Yeah.
core philosophies? Is this a good investment? And with Harbaugh, because he doesn't have a specialty, I think the average
Mhm.
Ravens fan, it's the same thing with Brandon Hyde. It's like, wait, what is he really good at? And because you can't pinpoint that because he wasn't known for something, as soon as
Mhm.
something bad happens, it's easy to just blame him, right?
Yeah.
When my philosophy is like, what is the coach is only responsible for kind of a mentality. Are we prepared?
Mhm.
Are we organized? Is he flexible? Is he smart? Is he willing to do this, willing to do that? And the leadership, like this Ravens team is set up where um, in the past it felt like we couldn't really deal with adversity,
Yeah.
and the safety happens last week.
Mhm.
It felt like that would be a game where we would malfunction, and
Yeah, it looked like early it was gonna be you just kind of felt like you're like, "Here we go again."
I just think Harbaugh deserves, the credit for the way he's running the organization. This is the point I wanted to make for the Super Bowl run. It was because your favorite players as Ravens fans were
Mhm.
part of it, and they were before Harbaugh. The way to do it is to give credit to the players because it felt like, hey, I already knew these players, and then
Mhm.
Harbaugh's there. It's like he's not an offensive genius. And like I said, I just want to give Ray
Yeah.
Lewis and Ed Reed the credit, and I was in that boat,
Yeah.
but it's the consistency and the way that we play and the franchise. It's just there's been so many
Mhm.
glowing things said about the Ravens for the past, I guess now 5 days,
Yeah.
and I think Harbaugh deserves even more credit than maybe he's even being like. I,
Mhm.
I'm making my point. Take me forever to do it, but the way he's
Yeah.
leading the organization
Mhm.
is. I don't think there's anything more he can do. Like I guess
No.
my final point is accepting that you're not um, the offensive guru. You're not the
Mhm.
defensive guru. You're not known for anything in particular. You're just trying to figure out how the hell we can win, and you remove
Mhm.
your ego. I think, yeah, I'm just very impressed with everything he's done. So sorry that took me,
Yeah.
but
No, I think I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I was talking to we had Nick Moore, the long snapper, on the show
yeah, all that.
Tuesday, and he had nothing but incredible things to say about Harbaugh. And one thing he just said was he was like like it starts with him. Like everything we're about starts with him. He was like he's the first man in the weight room. Like a lot of people don't know that Harbaugh does the players' workouts with them, and he's there. He's the first person in the gym at 5 a.m. and it's like you got to beat him there. So it's that mentality of when we were talking about physicality and like
Right.
all of that, we're like, what makes the Ravens so physical? And he was like, it starts with Harbaugh.
Because
Like
Hollywood,
Harbaugh is that.
that's where honestly I was in mid thought and I forgot what I was saying, and now you finally got me. It was
Yeah.
the Hollywood comments
Oh
that was
yeah.
getting all this attention, but the thing that like he was, I guess the soldier thing and the Greg Roman
Yeah.
thing got. I saw what you were talking about with your friends.
Yeah.
That got a lot of attention, but the thing that I took from it was how he was like everything goes through Harbaugh, and
Mhm.
for better or for worse. But as a fan of a team, it's way for the better. It's
Oh yeah.
we are so like I love the values that he possesses. And no, I don't
Mhm.
like the lack of information on the injury reports. I don't like the
Yeah.
bullshit press conferences after the game. But
It's been working.
that's
Like,
yeah, I was gonna say that's nitpicking. Like overall,
yeah.
you look at some of these other coaches, some of the fourth down calls, you don't have to like everything that he's doing. The same way you don't have to
Mm,
like Hyde's decisions to bring in certain bullpen guys. But when you think about
yeah.
the mentality, these two teams right now are so easy to root for, and because
Mhm.
they play hard, and it's just been such a blessing. So I
Yeah.
want to make
No, it's been fun. That's why it's a great time to be a Baltimore sports fan. That's for sure.
all right, let's wrap it up this way. Put you on the spot because I promised myself I wasn't doing Joe Flacco stuff unless we play him. Like then I'll
Yeah.
process it. But right now I'm not even. I'm just assuming Cleveland loses that first playoff game anyway.
Yeah.
So we got four teams in the playoffs, right? Browns, Ravens.
Mhm.
We'll count the Chiefs. I don't think they're officially in, but we'll count
Yeah.
them. Chiefs and the Dolphins. Are you counting the Bills and then finish out the AFC playoffs for me? I won't make you
Yeah.
NFC playoffs, but let's do the AFC.
Yeah. So I do think the Bills end up making it.
So who wins the AFC South, and then who gets the last wild card?
South, I am gonna go. I gotta go with the Texans, and then the Colts are gonna get the wild card.
The Texans and the
Or so that yeah, I think wait, let me I
Texans.
might be get
I'll say
I
the
think
Texans do play the Colts the last week of the season. I mean, that can still
yeah,
happen.
no, that's why I'm trying to think. It was not the who am I thinking of right now? I'm looking at the I'm blanking.
You got the Texans winning this.
Jackson. No, okay, so it's Jacksonville winning. I still think they somehow pull off that division. And then I think Houston takes the 7.
So Jacksonville wins the last two games. Texans
Yeah.
win the last two.
I
And
think Doug Peterson he's one of those coaches where in the final minute, like final, like home stretch, he's just got that experience that seems to always pull it out for him. He did it last year. He did it with the Eagles. Like he's just one of those voodoo coaches where like in the big moments, down 27 nothing to the Chargers, like he just pulls something out and they
they do
go
get
win
the
it.
they get the Panthers at home, and then they get the
Yeah.
Titans on the road. So those are
Yeah.
relatively easy games.
Yeah, that's why all of a sudden I was like, I feel like I'm missing a big thing. But yeah, Jacksonville, I think is when we were going through their stuff yesterday, I was like, even though Trevor Lawrence is still a little banged up, they got a lucky final stretch.
Yeah, the rest of the playoffs, it'll be fun. It's just again, I want to remind myself and Ravens fans, no matter what, it's so great to just automatically be in the playoffs with two games left. It's
Yeah.
just pretty awesome. So, all right,
Yeah.
sorry I got a little long winded there with hardball. I was just excited.
Yeah. Hardball gets me fired up. It's okay.
Right, I was gonna say, like, you know what? I've been critical, and it's okay to admit when you're wrong. And I was like doing the big picture thing. I'm like, well, what coach would I rather have than him? And
Yeah. It's really there's not many.
yeah, he's been doing a great job. It's easy to root for these guys. Are you going to the game Sunday? You got New Year's plans
Uh,
with Sharon?
I think I'm gonna be there. I'm still up in the air, but I'm 90% sure I'll be down there. Probably losing my voice and then just going nuts. So
Yeah.
hopefully for the division. Hopefully
Well,
for the division win.
well, enjoy. And you did mention a second ago, and I'm glad you did because I think it was the best episode. Frankly, I've listened to most of them, but yeah, having Nick on there to
Yeah, he was
just
awesome.
yeah, he was really very introspective. Gave you a lot of
Yeah.
things that
Yeah,
The
hell,
Pittsburgh,
he even talked about Aaron Rodgers because he's going through his own Achilles tear right
Mhm.
now. And after talking to him, I realized that Aaron Rodgers' like Achilles injury was just like the most perfect injury that you
Did you
could
announce?
do it in 3 months.
I think you're supposed to do your vax status before you comment on.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I should have specified.
You know
God,
what?
don't you love it?
You better be careful about those kinds of things because it's funny, right? I was talking about
Yeah.
I ended on this note. I was talking about regulation and this, that, and the third. But when you make jokes like that, and it's sensitive, um, freedom, for somebody that's always talking about
Yeah.
freedom of speech and freedom of this, that, and the third, yeah, we should all just be nice to each other because the next 9 to 10 months is going to be more interesting
Oh yeah.
than
Don't you
anything
just
else,
love
right?
it?
All
Yeah.
right. Well, Zach, before I make you make any political comments, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you for being here. Appreciate. Yeah, this has been fun. So I will see you
Yeah.
next Friday.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we're just making
hopefully
fun of
celebrating
it.
the yeah, hopefully next week we could just kind of celebrate a division title and hopefully not care about the Pittsburgh
They're
game.
gonna beat the Seahawks. I told you last week they're gonna beat the Bengals. I'm like 98% sure they'll beat the Seahawks because that's
I
just how
know.
things work. And then we'll find
Yeah.
a way to beat them. They'll go 9-8, right? That'll
Yeah.
put a 9-8.
Yeah.
They can still be as stupid over 500 bullshit.
Oh
That
my
makes it
god,
better.
it's so annoying. That's so annoying.
All right, man. Thank you. I'll see you next week. Good luck to everybody. And
We'll see
I
you
wouldn't
next
mention
week.
bowl games unless you like playing black and red on roulette or
I
something.
was gonna, yeah, don't bowl games just at this point. It's just a crapshoot.
All right. See you, buddy.
See ya.